Hello, everyone, and welcome to another broadcast of Northwest Georgia Cryptics. Excuse me there. Tonight we have Mr. Brian and Mr. Donnie, and of course my co-host Blake Duckworth. Blake, you want to go ahead and open the show, bud?
How's it going, everyone? I hope everyone's having a great night. And give Mr. Brian and Mr. Donnie a warm welcome. And if you don't mind, if you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button, bell notification, like, and a comment. So a little information about Brian. He is a ex Air Force,
Army.
Army. Sorry, sorry, Brian. Um, he's going. Crap. He's going to be sharing his story with us tonight. That's pretty much it, guys.
All right, guys. Brian, you Donnie got the floor, buddy.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Doing good.
Doing good.
I know you guys know my story. Donnie does too. I think I told Donnie all of it. But this happened back in 1991, September 91, in Northern California, up in the mountains. I was going hiking up in the mountains over by the Yuba River outside of a little town called Rough and Ready. Probably, well, it was a little later in the evening. Hiking off a bunch of trails out in the mountains, and I've told you all before, but come over a hill in the mountain, and off to my right, it looked like something I thought somebody had a fire going on the side of the hill. That's what it looked like, with a heat shimmer. You know, you see heat shimmering off a road that what's the word for it? I don't remember. Anyway, it looked like heat shimmer off to the side, down by a tree. And anyway, when I come over this hill, there's a cliff of rocks up on my left side, rock cliff face. Off to the right was heat shimmer. I noticed what I thought were a couple stumps to the left of me, up over by this cliff face. And I turned to look at that heat shimmer, and there wasn't nothing there. I mean, it was just the shimmering. But when I was coming over the top of this hill, I noticed that, and then my left eye, my peripheral vision, I saw something shoot up that cliff face on the left-hand side of me. And when I turned back to look what was going on, they weren't stumps. They weren't stumps like I thought they was, or boulders. They could have been boulders. They could have been stumps. I don't remember exactly, but they just blended in with the scenery.
Look natural.
It looked natural. Looked like it was supposed to be there. And when I looked back, one of them was gone, and that's the one that shot up the cliff. And that was a small one. There was like a small rock or a big rock or a small stump and a big stump. This was the smaller one that disappeared while I was looking off to the right. As I was looking back that way to see what was going on, that other rock or stump started standing up. I mean, it wasn't a rock. It wasn't a stump. This thing stood up, and it was the biggest, muscliest, meanest looking thing I'd ever seen in my life. I mean, this thing stood up, had red hair, just huge, and I froze. I was frozen in my tracks. I couldn't move. Could not move. I mean, this thing just kept, as it stood up, just kept getting taller and taller and taller, and I was like, oh my God.
Now, question.
Yep.
I know that, it was shock and awe type moment. If you had to, guesstimate far as height, I mean, how tall would you, and weight? I mean, if you just had to throw out a guess.
By the time it stopped standing up, I'd say between 8 and 9 feet tall. And if guessing weight, I'd say 900, at least 1,000 pounds. I mean, this thing was huge.
So big male.
Yeah, it was a big male. It was a big alpha. That's what I was thinking. Big alpha male. I mean, his chest was mean, when you hear the word barrel chest, that doesn't explain what I saw. This was like 3 barrels. I mean, the depth of his chest was just, I mean, at least 3 foot thick. I mean, if you think about how wide 3 feet is, the front of his chest to his back, and the width, I mean, it was like a sheet of plywood standing there.
36 inches. I mean,
front to back, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, huge. And the width was probably a foot and a half wider from shoulder to shoulder.
Wow.
I mean, just solid muscle. The shoulders looked like bigger than bowling balls. I mean, beach balls maybe. I mean, they were massive. I know you can't see it on the camera, but his arms were bigger than my legs, his forearms, and his bicep and tricep, upper arms were just unbelievably huge. I mean, this
now,
thing would,
how long do you estimate his hair was?
how long?
Yes, like the length of his actual hair.
Anywhere from 4 inches to 8 inches. I mean, he was shaggy. He had a lot of hair. Didn't have a lot of hair on his chest. Had a lot of hair on his arms and legs. Little hair on his belly. A little bit of facial hair. He did have long hair on his head.
Was it matted up?
It was matted. Yeah,
it was matted.
It looked like an animal been rolling in the ground. But this wasn't no animal. I don't know what this was. I know what it was now. I didn't know what it was back then. And the hair on his forearms was really long. I mean, it was crazy looking. Something you never forget.
The forearm hair was a lot longer than body hair.
Yes. I mean, it hung down past his hand. I mean, there was really long hair on his forearms. Little bit of facial hair, not much. As far as the face goes, it had a thin nose. I know a lot of people say they got big wide noses. This one didn't. It had a thin nose. Very human looking. Very thin lipped. But the mouth was really wide. When you're looking at it, I mean, very, very strange. A lot of distance between the nose and the top of the lip. There was a big space. We got a little space. Big space between the nose and the lips. I didn't see any ears.
You said more of human-like.
Didn't look like no ape. It didn't look like no animal. It had very human features. Other than its skin was very dark, like a charcoal gray.
So more of like a Native American type of
Kinda.
facial features.
Kinda, yeah. Yeah, you could say that. Yeah. Dark charcoal-like skin. I mean, it wasn't black skin. It wasn't brown. It wasn't white. It was like a dark gray skin. Eyes looked black. All I could see was black, shiny black from where I was at. Bear in mind, I'm 20 yards away, 15, 20 yards. So that's pretty darn close. That's within 60 feet. So I've seen him really well. Anyway, I'm standing there.
How close was your encounter?
Pardon me?
How close was your encounter with this creature?
I would say maximum 20 yards away, within 60 feet. I mean, it was very close. Very close.
Very close.
Almost face to face. I mean, close as you're going to get face to face without being face to face.
I mean, he's 60 foot away and I'm still looking up at him. So, I mean, this biggest thing I'd ever seen in my life. Other than a bull or something like that at a farm, this is the biggest animal I'd ever seen. And I keep saying animal, but this wasn't an animal.
Yes.
I mean, back then I thought it was. 30 years ago, I didn't know what Bigfoot, Sasquatch, anything that was.
Yeah, we'll just refer to them as beings. That's kind of my terminology for them.
So, I mean, he was monstrous.
Now, any type of scent that you can remember?
I never smelled anything.
Never smelled anything.
I smelled the woods. I smelled the leaves. No foul odor, nothing like that. But the wind was at my back too, though. So
it could have been blowing away from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, as far as the scent that everybody describes, that's for some reason it's I don't know if it's used as a certain type of technique, for certain things,
Yeah.
whatever. But sometimes you smell and sometimes you don't. I mean, me and Ricky's been super close to them, and didn't know they were there at the time and never smelled them. Then we have smelled that smell a couple times.
Well, if this thing, the way it looked, it should have put off a smell. I mean, it was not clean. It was not kempt. I mean, matted hair. The front of him.
Got a question.
Obviously, he was a male.
Somebody just posted in the chat that they missed the intro. Brian, this was not in Georgia. This was in California, correct?
Yeah, California.
Okay.
Yeah. Northern California.
But you can just yep. Go ahead, Brian.
This is the part that's weird. Well, it's all weird, but I told you I was standing there froze. I couldn't move. I couldn't move if I wanted to. I tried. I was locked in place.
Well, there's some stuff that I want to talk about after you get through your story, because we have had a lot of people on our show here recently that are on board with what you're getting ready to talk about. So you can go ahead and we'll get into all that later.
People call it woo or whatever. It ain't no woo. This happened. This ain't no. Y'all are some of the first people I've told this to, so it's still hard to tell this story knowing a lot of people out there are watching it.
Yeah, I know. This is the only second time you've ever talked about it, publicly per se. So.
Yeah. So it's needless to say, I was pretty damn terrified. I was not scared that I couldn't move. I was held in place. If that makes sense. If I had the ability to go and something wasn't holding me there, I'd have been gone. But physically, I was frozen. And something did that to me. Something froze me there. Something held me there. And I think it was him. And in my head, like we're talking right now, I heard a voice. It was not my voice. Tell me, you're not supposed to be here. You need to go. But he said, you're not supposed to be here. And in my head, I said, I don't want to be here. I can't move. And when he said, you need to go, he screamed go. And I'm talking the most horrendous voice in my head I ever heard. He screamed. Now, he physically screamed, but in my head, I heard this voice too. The roar he made, when he said go, I was released. I was able to turn and run, and that's exactly what I did. Just as hard and as fast as I could. Back down that mountain. And it's like he released me. When he said go, he released me. And I knew what to do. I left. And I ran, and that sucker chased me. He chased me down that hill. If he wanted me, he'd have got me. He didn't want me. He owned me right then. And he let me go.
How far, if I'm sure you didn't turn around and look, how far, from sound do you think he was to you?
I don't think he was more than 20 yards away. I think our distance, I really don't know. I never seen him again, but I heard him. I heard the foot.
Yeah, he just chased you out of there to get you out of there.
He got me out. Yeah. He wanted me away, and I think he wanted me away from his family. I think that was his youngster with him who went up the cliff. And down to the right where I saw that shimmer, I don't know what that was, but my gut tells me that was a female. That was his wife down there, or his mate, whatever you call it for him. And I think she cloaked when she seen me. She saw me before I saw her, and I think she was cloaked. And somehow she told the baby to get out of there, or he did, and he was going to take care of business. That's what I think. And he did. He got me off that mountain. But I don't think I ever ran so hard in my life. And to hear those big ass footfalls behind me, pound, pang, pang, bang. I mean, and
Now I got a question.
Yep.
So did you actually physically see him run after you?
No.
See, that's getting into the mind speak and that theory. What if you think it could have been him putting that in your head to make you think that he was actually chasing you?
It's a possibility, but it sure seemed real to me.
Yeah. Because we had somebody on. We had, like I said, this whole subject that as far as it's kind of one reason I wanted you to come in on here tonight, because we have been talking about this a lot here recently, and you're one of the few people that's had one of those experiences. A lot of people that we spoke with are just theorizers and stuff when it comes to that subject and everything. But one of the guys was talking about. I can't remember the exact story, but they were in a camp, and basically they heard that night what sounded like their camp being torn apart. They just thought they were going to get up that next morning, and their camp was going to be completely destroyed. Well, they wake up the next morning, come out,
everything's where it
and nothing was touched.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard of that too. The only thing that would make me say no to that is because I felt the footsteps too.
Yes.
But anything's possible. If you can put something in your mind, and I'm sure he can make you feel vibration too, or they or them or whatever they are. I've never thought of it that way, but even though I was running,
I'm not saying that's what it is. That was just that was just a question. It's all theories. It's it just had to ask.
But every time I heard his footfall, it would jar. I could feel it in my chest, if that makes sense. Even though I was running, I could still feel those jolts.
Guys, I know.
He's only popular when he's on the show, I promise.
But anyway,
his phone will ring 10 times during a podcast.
That's okay. But
at least it's good music. At least. I said at least it's good music. At least. But you can go on, Brian. Is there anything else you want to share real quick?
What's that?
Was there anything else you wanted to share about that, or?
The last thing I recall when I got down close to my car, and I turned around and there was nothing there.
Northwest Georgia Cryptics, and bring it up.
That's the only time I turned back and looked was when I got to the car, and there was nothing behind me. And in my mind, he should have been 10, 15 feet away from me.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's where I'm getting at. It could have been that situation.
If he had the ability,
that's something you'll never know the answer to.
No. But if they had the ability to freeze me in place there and not let me move and put that voice in my head, it's very possible they could have done that.
Well, it's like one of the guys we spoke with the other week. Ricky, I don't know if you remember this story completely. I don't remember the whole story, but he was talking about they had walked down they had parked and walked down somewhere, and his car is all of a sudden in the bottom of this ravine of where they're walking. And Ricky, do you remember that story? You know the one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Matter of fact, he's going to be on the round table on the 28th with us.
Yes, if you
Carter Richard.
Yeah, share that with Brian if you remember most of it.
Okay, Brian. Carter actually works with the BFRO, and he said that he had taken his wife.
Not there. Okay, let's stop right there. This is our show. We can say what we want to say. He doesn't agree with the BFR with the way they, he's in the woo crowd. We'll just say that. So he
right.
is a believer when it comes to some of the things we're talking about tonight. He's not, just straight BFRO thinking.
What was his name again? Bouchard?
Carter Bouchard.
Yeah. That name sounds familiar.
Really good,
But
really
anyway-
good dude. Really good guy.
Anyway, Carter said that he had taken his wife out to an area where he had about 3 or 4 months before had taken a BFRO group out to for a night investigation, and he said that he had parked his car up on top of this cliff bluff like deal and had walked down in this ravine. He and his wife had, and he said that by the time he got down into the bottom of the ravine, he was going to show her tracks and stuff that they had found. And he said all of a sudden he become confused and disoriented. And he said that he got to looking and his car wasn't on top of that cliff where he parked it at. It was down in the bottom of the ravine. He said he shined his light on it and could plainly see the car.
Wow.
And he said he got to telling his wife, wow, said, we gotta, I don't know what's going on. He said, my car is down here. And said, she got looking around and asked him, said, you know, what's going on? Said, that car is back up there. And he said, no, said, I see the car down in the bottom of the ravine. And said, finally, she talked to him a few minutes. He got to shine his light back up on top of the hill. And there his car was back up on the hill. So these things were actually messing with his mind in the same principle that they messed with yours.
Yeah. I can see that happening.
Now we got a couple questions. Let's see. So somebody asked, filmer of Bobcats said eye contact, face to face. Did y'all make eye contact?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then he also asked, day or night?
Dusk.
Dusk.
Bright enough to see him, but yeah, it wasn't dark yet.
And
Moving
one
into
more.
dusk. Let me say that.
Any interaction or just look at him or just looked at him?
I just looked at him. I couldn't do anything else. I was froze. No, he did all the walking and the talking.
Now, Brian,
You know,
they about 75% of the people that we interview on here that's actually had sightings of yours, like yours, have told us that they had been basically mundane sightings where they didn't feel threatened at all.
yeah,
What was your feelings with the sighting you had?
I was threatened. I felt threatened. But again, like I said, if it wanted me, he
Yep.
could have had me.
That's what I was getting ready about to say. You know, that's natural instinct. That is just fear. You know,
Yeah,
that's fear. That's natural. But like you said, if it was an actual life-threatening situation, he would have took you out before you ever
Absolutely.
knew what happened.
absolutely. He did not want to hurt me. He just
So
wanted me gone.
that you know, that kind of, yes, they were aggressive behavior there, especially if, you know, if he was the one that actually chased you out of the woods. Still aggressive, no matter how you look at it. So it's not 100% mundane, but
It was not peaceful.
was not peaceful. But he left you alone for other. You know, he got you out there.
Yeah.
He accomplished what he wanted to do. He let you go.
And you know, you got to think of it this way too. If you're there, your child is with you, and a bear walks over the ridge, what are you going to do? You're going to protect your child.
Yep.
And that's how I felt. That's what I felt they were doing. They were protecting their child. There could have been more. You know, there could have been more than the one I seen. I don't know. I just know what I did see. But the aggressiveness that he showed, I believe, was just to push me out, get me out of their living room. It's like I walked in their front door and caught them off guard. And I believe I did. By the way I walked over that hill, they didn't hear me or see me coming. That's the only thing I think.
Now,
I surprised them.
as far as the cloaking aspect,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm a firm believer in they have some type of ability like that myself.
If I'd have never seen that, I wouldn't have believed it.
I've never personally seen it, but we're just going to say paranormal because it is paranormal.
Mhm.
So many people think the word paranormal means just spirits, just ghosts. No, it is something out of the ordinary,
Covers a
something that
broad
is not
territory.
supposed to happen. These beings, no matter scientifically proven or not, whatever, they have paranormal aspects about
Yep.
them. Whether if it's not actually paranormal, it's something easily explainable that we just don't understand as humans.
Well, like I said last time, what if paranormal is what's normal and we've been educated to think that it's not normal? We don't know what's really real in this world. We don't,
Now,
what the schools have taught us, what the government has taught us, what everything has taught us. What if they've taught us completely wrong?
Yep.
What if this stuff is normal?
well, it's just let's look at today's world on that aspect. They're trying to erase history right in front of our face. It's certain types of history. Let's not,
Yep.
I'm not going to go into, exact details, but it is history, okay?
Absolutely.
If it's happening now, what all has been erased, forgotten about, taught differently
Bingo. What do we not know about?
in the last, let's just say 1,000 years?
Yeah.
So,
How many books are not in the Bible? That should be.
Mhm.
I mean, there's a lot of information out there that's been lost over time, over the eons. And, we're just humans. We're just here for a little while. This world will still be here when we're long gone. And, I mean, I still believe what people consider paranormal is probably more normal than any of us know.
Yeah.
Brian Timmerville
We're
of
taught
Bobcats has got a question here for you. Did you have any physical ill effects, upset stomach, headache, etc.?
Not that I recall. I was very tired afterwards. I know that. More so than from the running that I did. I mean, for a couple of days, I was completely zapped, exhausted. But no headaches that I remember. I mean, I just remember being exhausted for a few days. More so from the effort I put out of taking the hike and running back out. I don't remember a headache or anything. I don't remember being sick. But, this is 30 some years ago too, though. So
yeah, you're not going to remember. You're not going to remember it like it was yesterday. I
remember the fatigue. I do remember that.
Now, when you looked over and seen what you can describe as cloaked, was it transparent?
Yes.
It was transparent?
You
It
could
just,
see
it
through
just
shimmering.
something was not right.
Like the Predator movie. That's the closest thing I could ever think of calling it. You could still see through it, but not see through it. Like what was behind it was a blurry.
Yeah.
Patchy.
Yeah.
It wasn't just one big wave of blur. It was all shimmery, patchy blur. It's hard to explain.
Definitely tell that it was something very
there was something
out of
there.
place.
Yeah, there was something there. Absolutely something there.
But it's probably one of those things like if you were, say a couple hundred, a football field away from it, you would have never noticed it.
No, I just remember too what made me. I remember I let y'all know this the last time. I heard something snap over there. That's what drew my attention to the shimmer. That's what took my attention off the stumps or rocks that were over here. I heard a loud snap over here, and that's when I turned and saw the heat shimmer. So that's what drew my attention to that. So something made that noise. Something broke a stick or a branch, more like a branch, the crack, as loud as the crack was. Something broke something. A stick falling out of a tree is not going to make a snap like that when it hits the ground. I mean, it was almost like a gunshot. Loud. That's what drew my attention to the shimmer.
Now, I mean, I know the answer to this question. I'm going to ask for the show. Now, before, that day, or let's not even say that day, just before you had this encounter, what was your beliefs? What was your outlook on the subject of Bigfoot? I mean,
didn't care about it. Nothing. I mean, there were no beliefs. I remember seeing stuff on In Search Of, shows like that, but that's all I knew about it. And
Never crossed your mind.
never crossed my mind again after that. It was just another show on TV. Never thought about it again till that day. Back, monsters ain't real. Yeah, they are. I got news for you. Yes, they are.
Brian,
I know that. Go ahead, Rick.
Femmer of Bobcats has got a couple more questions here. One, I wonder if the physical effects can be caused by infrasound. Says I was in a concert where infrasound filter was broken, got violently unsettled, and had to run out. Next question, did this Bigfoot materialize in front of you to tell you to get?
No, he was there the whole time. He didn't materialize. He was there. He was, like I said, looked like a stump or a rock on the front of a cliff face, like a boulder or a stump, something had fallen off the cliff. Again, this is out of my peripheral vision. But no, he just stood up. He just stood up. And as far as infrasound, I didn't. The only thing I really felt was when he was chasing me and the voice in my head. And then
that's completely different than infrasound.
Yeah.
So.
I didn't feel anything internally. I didn't feel my organs shaking. I didn't, nothing. I didn't get sick. I didn't get nauseous. I didn't get dizzy. I've heard of other instances of infrasound, but I don't believe I experienced any of that. I do believe I experienced mind speak. That thing talked to me. It told me what it needed to say, and that was about it on that.
Okay, Femmer of Bobcat asks, could you distinguish eye color or coat color?
Eyes look black. You could see them glistening. You could see, like anybody's eyes, a sparkle in their eyes, but they were solid black. I did not see any whites of the eyes. They were just black, shiny black. And the hair was reddish orange. His whole body, kind of like an orangutan. Maybe a little darker, but and the skin was dark, like a dark charcoal gray, not black.
Okay, now
More like
Femmer
gray.
of Bobcats put down here. She got into the show a little late, so he told you to get, and then chased you or started chasing you, and then sent mind speak at you. Is that correct?
The mind speak came first. Well, actually, it didn't come first. First was when I was frozen. And then in my head, he said to me, "You're not supposed to be here." And this is a real voice in my head now. It's not Marv. It's a voice I've never heard before or since. It was a deep voice. It was a menacing voice. It said, "You're not supposed to be here." And in my mind, I said, "I don't want to be. I want to leave, but I can't. I can't move." And they said, "You go, or you need to go now." Something to that effect. And that last word, when he opened his mouth, he roared, and I physically felt release.
Now,
I physically felt like I was let go.
This might be a dumb question, but did the voice sound human? I know it's gonna be hard to describe.
Very deep, very rugged. Very authoritative. It sounded male, if that makes sense. I don't know if I would call it human. I don't know. It was.
Yeah, that's why I say that's something. I don't know how you would really explain that question, but
it was deep. It was grainy. It was the boss. The confidence in that voice. If that,
I guess the better question would be: have you ever heard a human's voice sound like that?
No.
Okay, that would be. I guess that'd be the simplest way to answer that.
Not even in the movies, not on TV, no. I don't think you could duplicate this voice. I don't think anybody could try to. I don't think I could. I mean,
Totally different vocal range and
yes,
hertz range.
yes.
Femmer of Bobcats asked how much did he look like or not look like Patty?
Didn't look a lot like Patty at all. It was a big male. Like Blake suggested, looked more Native American than anything. Did not have ape features at all. I mean, this thing looked like a massive humanoid. It was not human. Let me say that again. It may be partially human, partially something. I don't know, but this was more human than anything. No, did not have ape features.
The thing it really
did
piqued
not have
my
a coned
interest.
head. It had a rounded head like us. Was not a pointed coned head. That I could tell. Now he had a lot of hair on his head, which could have hid that fact, but no, he had a rounded head, but his head was massive. I mean, just.
So one thing it really piques my interest about the hair is the long on the forearms. Like, I mean, that I don't really know why or how, or I mean, what's the purpose of? Just wondering why that portion of the body has longer hair.
I don't know, but that stuck out to me too. I mean, I thought that was odd myself. I mean, the forearm hair was long, hung down past its hands, and its hands were humanish hands. I mean, they were huge though, but they were definitely hands.
Well, now one thing that I'd like to ask Brian. I know in the encounter I had back in '81, the one that I saw really had more of a bigger head that was actually fitted closer to its shoulders. Really no neckline at all. What about the one you saw?
There was no neck.
There was no neck.
There was no neck. It was like his shoulder muscles went right up to his ears, is what it looked like. I mean, I didn't see his ears,
head
but
set on his shoulders.
You see where his ears were. I mean, it was like his head was down in, or he just had that much bulk. But when he turned to look at me, he didn't turn his head. He turned his whole body towards me too. I mean, he canted his head a little and turned, but he did not turn his neck. But yeah, I didn't notice a neck. I mean, it was all just solid.
That's what we get out of at least 80 to 90% of the people that we've interviewed is actually these things appear to have no neckline at all to them.
Yeah, it was like trap muscles. Is that what they are back here?
Right.
It was like it went right up. If he did have a neck, they were all part of that muscle group.
Got a couple more comments from Filmer of Bobcats. See, how long were his arms? Did the hands come down to the knees?
Hands come down past the knees. Just past the knees. Now his legs were weird too.
Go ahead.
His thighs, his upper legs were very long, and his lower legs were kind of short. So it's like the knee was lower on them than they are on us, if that makes sense. Going by memory now, right. So I mean, you got to realize this all happened within a few seconds too. So
yeah. I mean, your brains only can process so much stuff at one time. I mean, you're still in shock and all of what you're even looking at. I mean,
but his legs were very odd. The just very, very weird.
Now, also asked, did you see his teeth? Did he have elongated canines, quote unquote fangs?
No canines that I saw. But when he did open his mouth when he told me go or now, I mean, I did see his teeth. I didn't get detail of them though, but they were white. I know that. Inside of his mouth was red. And when he opened his mouth, you could have fit a full watermelon in that sucker. He was huge when he screamed. I just remember seeing white, I assume were teeth, and red that I assumed was the inside of his mouth. But I did not notice fangs or canines. I think I would have caught that if I'd have seen him. Big as he was, I'm sure I would have noticed.
Yeah, because I'm sure he would have had some big teeth.
They'd have been huge. For his size, they'd have been steak knives.
Right.
Donnie, you're being awful quiet down there.
I was just sitting here listening to Brian
You
talk
can
about
chime in at any point that you want. I know you've heard his story, but if you have anything you want to ask, any comments, anything you want to ask,
when he was talking about the him chasing him, man. You know, I've been interested in this my whole life, just about it. I said I never had an encounter like that, by no means. I said, but the ones I have seen and read, I mean, I hear different stories, but it's just like Brian said. If you know, there's no telling how many times. You know, I used to stay in the woods. I said I've been hiking. You know, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I said, gee, no telling how many times I walked by something like that and never even knew it. I said, but one thing I could and can say is, you know, if he really wanted you, I mean, you're gone. You're a goner. I mean,
They'd have found my car, and they'd have never found me. I'd have been another missing 411 with David Pilates.
Oh yeah, I told you I've watched some of that on TV. The 411 on this. I said it's unreal. I said it's. You know, you search the whole site over.
That's what I was about to say. Is, you know, that's the thing about like the missing 411. You know, yes, don't get me wrong. I'm sure some of these people just something happened. They got lost. It was it was just a regular occurrence. You know, missing person.
Right.
In some
sure
of the cases.
Of them are.
But sure you can't tell me when you have that many missing people in one area, because all the you know, it's usually around these national forests and stuff like that. I mean, all of them can't be just natural occurrences of somebody getting lost and falling down a ravine, or, you know, where do the bodies go? I mean, don't get me wrong. If, of course, animals are going to eat them, they're going to decompose. Things are going to happen if it's there long enough. But, you know, most of the time, you have a search party out within 48 hours of somebody coming up missing. So most people aren't going to walk, you know, 30 miles and, you know, and just get completely lost. I mean, a lot of these people are experienced hunters, experienced hikers. They know these areas. I mean, you know, I don't know.
Then you get into portals.
Yeah.
More paranormal, more cryptic stuff.
Definitely.
There's so much out there we don't know.
Right. I mean, you know, with the mind speak that you brought up, what's to say that they weren't zapped with these things and just, you know, just completely lost their sense of direction or whatever.
Yep. Absolutely.
I'll tell you,
I've heard of that had been zapped get completely lost where they're at. They don't remember where they're at. They don't remember how they got there.
And for example, you know, some of these, especially kids that come up missing in these Mission 411 areas, you know, they've been kids found, or, you know,
miles away,
20 miles away from where they got lost in a couple hour period. There's no way this person was traveling that far in that short amount of time.
No.
Oh, we had a case
a lot of weird out there.
We had a case not far from us. What was that? Last year before last, a little 6-year-old boy had come up missing. Stayed gone for I think 8 days.
Yep.
When they finally found him, they found him within 2 miles of his home. Number one, and when he was questioned, all he could say was that a bear had taken care of him.
The bear took care of him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
There ain't no bear taking care of human.
No.
I mean, stay gone for 8 days in the wilderness. And they said that this, what amazed the doctors and all was after they'd done a checkup on the child, that he had really lost no weight,
He was hydrated.
no physical attributes
Yep.
whatsoever.
Not a scratch on him.
Yeah, not a scratch on him. And he'd been gone for 8 days, and a bear took care of him.
Yep. No food, no water, but he come back just as healthy as when he left.
Right.
Somebody or something took care of that young man.
Yeah, something's not right about that.
No. There's no way. Not an 8-day period of time.
No.
I mean, technically, you can only live, what is it,
7 days without water.
7 days without water?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I know you can live longer
30
without
days without
food,
food.
but
Yeah.
Brian Filmer of Bobcat asked, do you have a book about this or a written account that we can read?
I do not. No. Nope.
I'm
Both
surprised that's
interviews
something
I've
you
done
haven't
have
done,
been
Brian.
with Ricky and Blake. What's that?
I
Blake?
said I'm surprised that's something you haven't done. Wrote a book on Bigfoot yet. As much as you like to read literature of Bigfoot and stuff.
I probably could. I got a library here.
Oh, yeah.
Been
Yeah,
studying
this
it a lot
man
of years.
definitely. It's been a lifelong journey for him.
It was a life-changing experience. When you see something like that, you're not the same person you was when you walked in the woods. It changes everything. And what really got me thinking about coming out and telling my story was several years ago. My granddaughter Haley was probably 6 or 7 years old. She was young. She's driving now, but we're sitting on the couch watching a Finding Bigfoot or some show like that. And she looked up at me and she said, "Poppy, are Bigfoot real?" Am I going to lie to my granddaughter? What am I going to tell her? This is going through my head. What story am I going to make up and tell her that they're... I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to lie to my grandchild. I told her the truth. I said, "Haley, yes, honey, they're real. They are real." And she says what I was hoping she wouldn't say. She said, "How you know, Poppy?" I told her. She's the first person I told since then. My granddaughter is the one who drugged this out of me. That would have been, what, 22, 23 years later? Now we are 30 years later.
Wow.
She's the first person that got me to tell my story. Because I wasn't going to lie to my granddaughter and let her go in the woods thinking there's something not there that is there. I didn't give her details. I just told her I seen one. Yeah. So,
But I mean, you know, if which in today's world, you know, this subject isn't so much looked down on. It's more, you know, it's more acceptable now than it was, you know, even 10 years ago.
it is.
I mean, but that's the thing. If everybody that has had a actual encounter, whether it doesn't have to be like a encounter like you had, or, you know, if everybody would just share their stories, I mean, it would open the eyes of so many people. Because
Thank God
I mean,
there's a lot more of it going on.
Think of all these, you know, especially these, you know, these older people in their 70s, 80s that have never really shared their story, and I mean, you know, here they are, never told anybody. I mean,
That's a hard secret to keep your whole life.
No doubt.
You know?
Mm.
And
Sure make you think about going in the woods, that's for sure. And you pay attention to your surroundings a lot more.
going right.
Right.
that's what I was about to say. Like me, myself, it doesn't change me. It doesn't hinder me from going in the woods, but you definitely pay attention to things a lot more.
Absolutely you do.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that weird sound over there becomes more curious in your head than it would have before. I mean, or
Yeah.
just even hearing just a bird that doesn't sound correct, or, you know, you pay attention to things and question things a lot more than you would have before.
Your senses become much more acute.
Yeah.
You sure pay attention a lot more.
Wow.
You know, I know a lot of people that watches this show is deer hunters or fishermen or whatever, and you know, going out into the woods and when you're either going into to a spot you're headed or coming out of a spot you're headed, and you get this uneasy feeling about something watching you, or you've got, or you get to hearing this racket, this, you know, something walking along in the woods, 30, 40 yards up in the woods from you, paralleling you as you walk out or as you walk in. And, you know, really, people that's never had this type of encounter, they really don't pay that much attention to it. But man, when you've had an encounter like we've had, you know, you begin, every little noise, every little racket that's made in the woods, you begin to pick up on it. I know I have.
And sometimes, like, and most of the time, you're just reading too far into things when you do that. Now, you know, when you do it in the woods like that. I mean, but at the same time, like, you can't help but wonder, is that the big guy? I mean, you know, it's.
Now, one other thing happened to me in the woods when I was hunting, which was just as spooky, is when everything goes quiet.
Oh yeah, most definitely. That can be one of the.
You don't
that's
hear leaves.
More scary to me. Yeah, that creeps me out more than anything.
One minute you got birds, squirrels running around, leaves rattling, wind blowing, and the next second, nothing. That
no wind, no nothing, just dead. Yeah,
that happened to me once, and that creeps me out. And
me and Ricky's had that happen a lot down at the cemetery. You'd be sitting out there, you know, just a noisy night. You know, everything in the woods alive. And all of a sudden, you know, just not even notice it at first, and you just realize that where did everything go? Why is it so quiet?
That tells me there's a predator nearby when that happens. The critters know. We don't. But they do.
we have a lot of people, you know, ask us questions about why won't the government admit to these beings actually being out there? Why won't they admit it if they're there? Well,
money.
Last night I was reading on one of the Bigfoot groups on Facebook. Someone had posted a journal that had actually belonged to their uncle. Their uncle had been a medical doctor that had worked for the Department of Agriculture for his entire life, since his early 20s up until his death in mid 2000. According to the guy, they released part of his uncle's journal on Facebook, and according to the MD, he had actually done autopsies on 3 bodies that they had found in Texas, and then several bodies that they had found in Washington State. And so, you know, if this is true, then the government has to know that these creatures exist. So why won't they come out and tell the public that, they're out there?
Money and panic.
Yeah.
How much money they lose in the hunting industry and camping and national parks and forestry service and state parks. You know how much money, the revenue they'd lose if everybody quit going to the woods?
So something I do want to bring up while you guys are on here, I'm going to go ahead and bring it up before I forget. We've talked about it on here before, but you guys were with me up in Blue Ridge when all that happened with
orbs,
with the military or whoever they were. I want you guys to tell y'all's side of what happened that night and what y'all felt like was going on.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's just when they come up and talked to us and said the first thing out of their mouth was, "We won't be here but just a few minutes, you know, a little while. If y'all hear gunfire, it's the training that we're doing." And then when they were told what we was doing up there, that's when their whole
demeanor just
changed. And I wonder what they was doing up there. I mean, training. Yeah, I could believe that.
Yeah, they were obviously going to be there regardless if we were there. I mean,
right.
But they were just going to pass through because they
Yep.
knew they were disturbing us until they found out why we were there.
That's exactly it.
Once they
Yeah, I
found
tried
out
to
why we
explain
were
how
there,
close they camped with
Brian,
us
you
that
did.
they
night,
went.
but they
they
might
went-
as well just come and slept in our tents with
They
us.
went
As close
Yeah.
as
out of
they
their
were.
Brian,
way
you
to
did
harass us.
military, man. Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Orders don't just change on a dime now, do they?
No. But they did that night. Somebody told them to stay there and harass us, or they would have left. I'm sure they
Well,
called their superiors, got their orders, and were told to hunker down right next to us and make our life hell that night.
And basically, that's what they done.
And that's what they done. They know they're there. They
Oh,
know the
yeah.
forest people are there. They know it. They train around them. They know they're there. They don't want us knowing they're there. They're
They
covering
wonder.
it, hiding it.
Similar to Bobcats here, wrote last week my brother and his wife went hiking up in the Colonial Bob Wilderness Trail in Washington. They were escorted out after dark by something bipedal. They could hear it walking beside them all the way out.
Well, your sister and your brother-in-law seen one up in Washington
Yeah.
State.
That was in Washington, Ricky?
Yeah,
Yeah, my brother-in-law seen one in Washington. My sister and brother-in-law are from there. But he saw one too.
I
His
don't
was
think I
just a
ever
glimpse.
told you, Brian, that Kirsten. Did I tell you about her saying she seen a bear in Florida?
Uh-uh.
I don't think I did. All right. So when they went down to Florida last year, maybe in the beginning of this year, last year, her and her mom went down there to see some family, and they were in the swamp. They were in the swamps down there. I don't know exactly what part of Florida. Well, let's just back up a little bit. She didn't tell me about this for a while. And then she was like, "Did I tell you I seen a bear in Florida?" And I'm like, "No." Well, she starts with this story, and she said it walked across the road. And I'm like, "Hold up. Let tell me what happened." Because she was trying to convince herself she didn't. But, after she told me the story, I was like, this is what you saw what you didn't think, what you were telling yourself you didn't see type situation. They were in the swamps. They're going down the road, swamp on each side. And basically she said, she couldn't really judge how far. But, it was within, I'd say, maybe 100 yards out in front of them, close enough where she could still see clearly, what's going on. She said all of a sudden, bipedal, something. She said all of a sudden something big black ran across the road. And that's when I was like, you said it was a bear. I was like, bear can walk on their back legs, but it's more of a waddle at short distances, and they don't run.
Or at the circus.
yeah.
I was like, I really feel like she saw a swamp ape.
Skunk ape.
Skunk ape. I
believe it.
She said it was pretty tall. She, just what she describes is not a bear.
Not walking on two legs.
Not running on two legs.
Right. Not running.
She said this thing crossed the road within, she just got a glimpse of it going across.
And how many thousands of sightings are there on that road every year?
Yeah.
By different people. How many people? You look at our population, the human population, how much we grow every year. How many kids become adults, get their driver's license, are out on the roads, and they're seeing stuff now.
Well, it's like Angie's daughter.
And that coming for her, she's not even in. She likes Bigfoot, the subject of Bigfoot, but she's not like into it. She's more into the ghost stuff and everything. And so, she has no reason to even have brought that up. She, it just, I believe her. She's seen something go across the road, and it was, she thought it was a bear.
Yeah. What was it she said? She saw
Orangutans.
Orangutans. Yeah, one of Angie's best friend's daughter used to tell her mom she see orangutans in the woods. Because they camp a lot up in the UP, Michigan, Upper Peninsula, Michigan.
Yeah.
You know, her daughter says she see orangutans in the woods. And mom's like, there ain't no orangutans in the woods. Huh? Yeah, Blake, you heard the story.
Yeah.
But, you know, Ricky and Donnie hadn't. But one day she's trying to figure out what she's seen in the woods, if she's seen anything. And one day they're watching Harry and the Hendersons. And at the very end of the movie, when Harry steps out, they're all standing there in the woods, and you can't see them until they move. At the very end of Harry and the Hendersons. And when they start doing that, she said, see, Mommy, there's orangutan in the woods. So we're thinking she saw Sasquatch when she was littler. And the only thing she could think of to compare it to was an orangutan. You know, children don't have a reference to an animal that big unless it compares to something close to what they've already seen. And what's the closest thing?
Well, she talked about the orangutan forever.
Yeah, she says she talked about orangutans forever till we finally figured out what she was talking about. She'd seen Sasquatch in the woods while they were camping.
One of that area of Michigan up in there, it's famous for Bigfoot sightings in that area. So that could have possibly been exactly what she saw.
And dog men and other things and
oh yeah. Well, guys, I'm gonna tell you what. I honestly fully believe that our national forest, just our forest in general, in this area, all across the United States, holds many, many secrets. There's really no telling what's out there.
Absolutely.
But yet, yet our government's not going to admit to any of it.
No. Well,
Filmer Bigfoot asked, were you in a state or national park or or was it just public land or?
Public land. I believe it's a park now, but back then it was just a pull off on the Yuba River. I know it was outside of Rough and Ready was the name of the town, but it's close to the Yuba River. But back then, you know, this is 91. Back then, a lot of stuff wasn't developed. I'm sure everything's developed there now, but no, you pull off the side of the road and go hike into the river. There wasn't parking lots or nothing back then. It was just go.
Just pull off, pretty much.
Yep. I mean, Northern California back then didn't have a big population. There was a lot of woods out there that hadn't been explored yet. I mean, but
well, guys, that's one reason I think that we're having so many Bigfoot sightings now as compared to 40 years
their land's being intruded on.
Well, our population growth and their population growth.
Right.
They're having babies just like we are. I mean.
And we don't know what their lifespans are. You know, we don't know if they live 100 years. We don't know if they live 50 years. We don't know if they live 300 or 400 years. I mean, we have no clue.
We sure don't.
Yeah,
that's what gets me about researching.
I mean, people, there's some quote unquote some experts in certain fields that theorize how long they live, but we truly have no clue. I mean,
there's no experts.
Well, when I say experts in certain fields, I'm talking about scientists and things that deal with like actual animals and stuff like. I'm not saying Bigfoot experts because they are no Bigfoot expert. I mean, can't have an expert in something we have no clue about, really.
No.
And that brings us back to. Well, I think the government has more answers than what they're going.
Of course, general population. We're talking general population here. I mean, Joe, Frank, and Harris over there. I mean.
Donnie, why don't you talk about the orbs?
I'm glad you brought that up because I was wanting to, but I said, well, it's maybe a little off subject, but
look, our podcast is
paranormal.
We try to
podcast.
stay on a little path at the beginning, but then it typically just kind of
Ends up.
goes wherever. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
I
just
just
going
messed it
forever.
I have never, that night that all three of us went walking down that road, I said it was, I mean, y'all seen them before I did, but on the way back before we turned in, I seen a blue one. And now what got me about it is, you know, well, people say, well, it could have been a light, it could have been a lightning bug, it could have been this, or it could have been that, but this was following us. This was beside us. And as it contoured, we was walking on the road, the side of the road, it was following us going up, you know, just like it was walking up
well,
on
we'd
the
seen
edge
it
of the.
going. Me and Brian seen it going in to where we walked to.
Yep.
Then we
Several
all
of
saw it coming back.
Yeah.
There's several different ones. There wasn't just one.
Yeah.
There were several of them.
Well, that
And
one,
guys, to reiterate, this was on the Blue Ridge of WMA.
Blue.
but it was unreal. I mean, I mean, it's just like it was following us, listening, walking right along with us, but it's up on the edge of the. It wasn't on the road; it was in the woods, going up down. I mean, it was just following us. I said that was unreal.
And hey, guys, let me give you a little deal on the. You know, here back, it's been, I don't know, 7-8 years ago, there was a deputy sheriff up around Dahlonega. They was going up there one night, had a lady in the car with him, and they actually caught what they thought was a Bigfoot run across the road.
Yeah, that's
on dash
On
cam.
dash cam.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me tell you, that deputy sheriff since then has come back. I was watching it the other night, and had claimed that 2 to 3 weeks after he had filmed this, and this just goes to show you what the government will do, that he was riding through a housing project outside of Dahlonega within the area where he had filmed this at, and actually found some kids that had a monkey suit.
I heard that.
Yeah,
Nonsense.
that's my take on it.
Nonsense.
Well, on
that
my
was a big
opinion,
creature, and that thing was getting it.
I saw
mean,
that.
it wasn't somebody in a suit.
That
That
thing
video
made
they showed the kids in
three
the
bounds
suit.
across
and like,
Yeah.
across that highway,
What
and it was
is-
gone.
what
It was
sense does it
twice
make?
as
How
tall
are
as
those
any of them
kids? How are those kids going to know that they're a state trooper coming down that road with a dash cam on? You know, like if that was their purpose, I mean, maybe they were trying to hope somebody, you know, just any car come down through there. Yeah, sure, maybe, but I mean, like it just don't make sense. I mean,
What
You gotta
gets
remember-
me about it is somebody want to put on a suit and go into the woods. Most people in the woods are either hunting or, you know, I said you ride into dangerous territory because you're gonna get somebody with a gun out there that's real gun
gonna
happy
think you,
and
gonna think you
Hey, there's
something that they
Yeah.
gonna kill.
There's 75% of the people in the state of Georgia that are licensed carry concealed. You don't know who
Yep.
is going to be out there that's going to have a handgun or a long gun or a shotgun or whatever with them at any given time. You think I'm going to put a suit on and get out here and run up and down the road?
No.
Hell, I wouldn't do that in Redwood, let
Uh-uh.
alone out in the national forest.
It's somebody made him do it.
Well, you know he turned around too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woman, and he stopped, and they seen it down in the woods. They know that wasn't no ghillie suit, no kid. So
No, that's
They
exactly
saw-
right.
he shined a flashlight on it and seen it. She wouldn't get out of the car because she seen it. And so that wasn't no kid in no suit, or they would have caught him.
Somebody made him do it. I mean, he was probably told
Exactly.
to.
That's exactly my feelings. I just wanted to
Yep.
point that out to everyone on the broadcast tonight. Now that is how the government cover-ups are
Yep.
pulled off, though.
You're absolutely right.
Well, I mean, just, you know, this isn't Bigfoot, but one of the best, you know, government cover-up ever, Roswell, New Mexico crash.
Yep.
You know, they told the truth at the first, and, you know, a couple of days later come back and say it's a weather balloon. Like,
Weather balloon.
how does our government not know what a weather balloon is. Like, I mean, if it was a weather balloon, that'd been the first story told. It would have never been told. I mean,
Right.
How do you take a 200-acre debris field and turn it into a crash of a weather balloon? What I want to know.
Can't. There's no telling what they cover up
I ain't no doubt in my mind.
and then act like they're trying to protect us from ourselves.
Oh yeah.
Mm. But no, them orbs, that was something I said. I told you, I said, I'd love to go back. I said, I want to go back. I said, that
Me
was,
too. Well, we got whooped at too.
oh yeah, sure did.
Yeah.
Well, guys, anytime y'all get ready to do a trip up there, let me know. Now, also, this coming Wednesday night, I'm gonna have the lady back on the show. Lives up in Middle Tennessee. Now, she's already invited me to bring my team members and come up there and do some investigations on her property. I don't know if you saw the show last week or not with her in it, her and her husband, but they're having Sasquatch experiences on their property up there. I've got some pictures, Brian, I'll send you
Okay.
after the show that she's actually, she took with a night vision camera off the balcony of her house. And she's got 3 separate subjects that she's caught in these pictures. Also got one where there was a car explosion on the back of her property where somebody had stole a car and abandoned it. The car blew up. They were up there, her and her husband was taking pictures. You can ask Blake, he saw the picture. You can actually see the full outline of a Sasquatch standing 40 yards behind the car, and it
Wow.
burned.
Wow.
Dude, it's awesome. I'll send the pictures to you when we get
Yeah,
out.
I'd love to see those.
But
That'd be awesome.
if y'all guys are ready for a trip up there, I'll set it up and we'll go up there one weekend.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah. That'd be awesome.
Blake, just let us know you can go, buddy.
You there, Blake?
I'm frozen.
Yeah, you've been frozen for a while.
I promise. I'm moving right now. Like, I'm waving my hands and
I'll say, you fall asleep because you ain't moved in 10 minutes. This picture froze.
yeah, I'm
Let me
in another dimension right now.
Let me bring you
Get out
out
of that
for a
portal.
little.
Come back to it. Oh, he's gone.
Is that that show is going to be this Wednesday night?
Yeah, that is from
Ricky,
Wednesday night.
Can you still hear me? It's
Yeah, I
fine.
hear you.
We'll just keep going, whatever.
What time
Well, I
is
brought
it
you
Wednesday?
back on.
Well, I mean, I'm on, but I ain't on.
You ain't got a picture.
Hang on just a second. All right, buddy, I don't know what's going on.
The
see,
government
no
done got me.
Yeah, they done zapped you, buddy.
Step out of the portal. Come back to the light.
Yeah, come back to the light, Blake. Oh,
Look, I mean, me personally,
yeah.
I've had 2 encounters with the government and Bigfoot situations, and both of them have been really weird. So, first one was a little weirder than the second one, but second one they just ruined our night.
Yeah.
Really
Yep,
wasn't.
made
I
it
mean, it
pretty
was
miserable.
weird, but I mean, they just.
They just following orders.
The only thing that really made me mad about that night was them leaving the motor running.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Well, not
if
as
you
bad
want,
as
if you
Ding
want to
Dong
camp
cranking
right
that
there
little
next
dang
to us,
generator.
if you want to try to make us leave, it's not going to work. Whatever, we're just going to ignore you. But that was bullcrap.
Well, you remember
And
what
them
he said.
them up walking around our camp at night too. That was.
Well, remember Ding Dong cranked that little bitty 2-cycle generator to blow up his air mattress because he couldn't do it in the daylight. He had to wait till 2 in the morning to do it. Ding Dong. And then they cranked the Humvee and said, they think that's loud. Wait till they listen to this. And that's when we listened to the Humvee running all night.
Yeah, that was totally uncalled for.
Goofballs and walking around the tents and snooping around.
They lucky I didn't have a set of them giant speakers with them. I'm telling you.
Oh,
and Ricky, they're all telling me to turn on my Tahoe that morning.
Turn it, crank it, wake them up, man. They kept us up all night. How dare they sleep at 7 in the morning?
Hell, I would have had. I'd have crawled out there and cranked that thing wide open.
I would have. That was my ride. Blake wouldn't do it.
No, I just have something they don't have: respect. No, you can't respect somebody that don't respect you, but
they military. They ain't supposed to have no respect.
They, they could have got their point across and shut the thing off. I mean, but it ran all night long.
Yeah, I like to know how much gas they wasted that night.
Doesn't matter. Taxpayer money.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
We bought the fuel that night.
I still believe there's more to that than
there is.
Well, of course. I mean, like, why? I mean, may just be the conspiracy theorist in me, and I mean, whatnot, and reading too far into things, but it was too much of a coincidence. Like, they had no reason to have stayed where we did. If they would have stayed where, over in that field or somewhere else, I wouldn't have thought much about it, whatever.
That's where all the recovery gear was.
You remember me saying
normally, guys, when they do their training exercises, that big field up there, the grass field, what we always called it, that's normally where they stay at.
That was their destination.
That's where they were at. Yes, that's where they did their training and everything that.
But yeah, when y'all mentioned Bigfoot, they come right down there and camp in y'all's back pocket.
Pretty much.
Yeah, they sure did.
Well, I always thought during training, you wanted to stay as far away from civilians as possible.
Pretty much. You're supposed to. You're supposed to avoid them. You're not supposed to be seen. They had their field they were supposed to camp at, and they were told to stay in the woods around us. When we left the next morning, we passed that field with all their recovery gear and everything out there. That's where they were supposed to spend the night. I mean, I spent time in the Army. I know where their what their campsite's supposed to look like. That's where they were going to camp out, set up, and they didn't. They decided to surround us.
And that's what probably.
They literally surrounded us. I mean,
yeah.
I'm saying that area where they were going to stay was how far from where y'all were camped?
If that, right around the corner.
If that. Walking through the woods, they could have been there in 30 minutes or less.
Well, and what they told us originally was they were going to be in and out of there. They were not camping in the area.
They were going to leave us alone. They were waiting on their troops to come through, and that was it. They'd be gone. They'd leave us alone. And next thing you know, they hunkered down and surrounded us.
They sure did.
Once they found out why we were there. That's tell me that wasn't planned.
Well, who actually brought that up to the military personnel?
Ding dong.
Oh, the one from Tennessee. Okay, I know the one you're talking about.
You remember?
Oh yeah.
The same one who cranked up the 2-cycle generator when everybody's trying to sleep to blow up an air mattress. God, I was so mad at him.
Yeah,
be nice.
I was so mad at him for cranking that damn generator. And
you remember they laughed and
acting like a couple of little girls giggling and laughing and joking
all night long.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go for a walk, and they stood in camp, never took their backpacks off. You can take your backpack off, you ain't going nowhere there. Why don't you just sit down?
Hey, we've experienced the same thing with them. They make out like they're big and bad and brave, and they don't want to get out of camp life.
Well, then sit there and tell us everybody stay in camp because the military's there. Screw you. I'm walking. That's when me, Blake, and Donnie took off. I said, I ain't staying here. You ain't going to tell me. I didn't come all the way up here to sit in camp.
No, that's what it's there for.
You know?
They're doing an investigation.
You ain't my boss. You ain't tell me where I am and ain't going to go. But anyway. What else can we talk about other than that?
I'm stuffing my face.
Your stuff. Oh, that's why your camera's turned
Yeah,
off.
that's why I got his camera turned off.
Well, enjoy your dinner, brother.
That mystery is solved.
Yep.
My you messed up my camera, Ricky.
I didn't mess up your camera. You turned that sucker off where you could eat. That's exactly what you done.
We can still hear you eating.
It's really good.
You're supposed to share, Blake.
Blake ain't never been a share for food.
Well, gentlemen, it's like way past my bedtime. I hope I've been able to answer some questions and stuff.
Oh yeah, very good job. Want to thank you and Donnie very much for being on the show tonight.
We appreciate the invite.
Yeah,
and Donnie, we normally do our shows on Wednesday. I know it's hard for Brian to do stuff during the week. I mean, same for you, Brian. If you ever want to come on, you guys are part of the team. You can come on, do a show with us anytime. Anytime we have somebody coming on that you would like to chime in, I mean, you're more than welcome to. Same with you, Donnie. I mean, like I said, we do shows every Wednesday unless something happens or something happens with who we have on planning on the show, you know. But if you ever want to come do a show with us, you're more than happy to.
What time y'all usually start?
Normally 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah, normally it runs from 10 to 11.
I mean, we can always move it forward a little bit. I mean, you know, I normally don't get all of it. Well, it depends on if I'm off on Wednesday or not. I mean, some Wednesdays I am off. If I'm off on Wednesday, we can do it whenever, but I don't get off till 8 o'clock. And, you know, by the time I go get food, get home, you know, get settled in and everything, 10 o'clock's just easier for me.
Well, I like listening Wednesday if you don't mind.
All right, come right ahead.
We always like having somebody else on the show too. It's just more questions that can be asked. I mean, you know, it helps keep it going. I mean, sometimes you do run out of things to say and ask sometimes.
Well,
3 brains are better than 2.
I enjoyed it. A lot listening to that story, and I can listen to it again. I like to hear stories about, like Brian was telling us.
We all know Brian's story, but I mean, you know, like I said, I mean, I've been wanting to have Brian on the show since we started this YouTube channel, but I mean, we've really been talking a lot about some of the things that happened in his encounters. So in the last 4 or 5 episodes, I mean, that's kind of been brought up a lot in them. So what better time to do it? Keep it going.
Well, I'm happy to help.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now, like I said, next Wednesday night we got the lady from Middle Tennessee. Her and her husband's gonna be back on. Really, y'all guys want to watch the show? Just tune in for a little while, Brian, if you can watch it, and you get a little general idea of what's going on up there. And like I said, we've already got an invitation to come up and check the area out. So that'll just give you a little heads up on what's actually going on up there.
All right, sounds good.
All right, well, everybody, like I say,
thank you, Brian.
Donnie.
Thank you, Donnie.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Brian, can you send me Donnie's number? I don't have his number.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
And I'll get with you, Donnie, about coming on for the next show Wednesday.
All right.
All right, Brian, I'll get those pictures up and send them to you.
Sounds good.
Thank you, guys.
Everybody, thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Thank everybody for your questions, comments tonight. I'm sorry about my voice. As I've told everybody before, you know, I have COPD, and this stuff gets to me every now and then, chokes me up a little. We got 7 kittens running around over here in the house right now. By the way, if anybody wants any cats, just holler at me. I got plenty to get rid of.
Pass.
Yeah, send him an email, write him on Facebook.
Yeah, got plenty of them to get rid of. But all right, thank everybody for being on the show tonight. Everybody, God bless, and everybody have a good weekend.
Yes,
See
sir.
y'all later.
God
All right.
bless.
Bye.
Bye. Blake, you still there, bud?